there's been a lot of presentations I've sat through talking about how we need to be more compassionate and everything like that, which I'm in total agreement. But I want to say this. People that I work with in ABA have been the most compassionate people I've ever worked with,
Right.
because they're relationally driven. Like most people who come and work, teachers, social workers, people who work with people to help people, if you look at the bell curve and everything like that, they're going to be leaning to the right when it comes to compassion. They're going to be leaning to the tails when it comes to compassion and everything like that. And I think it's something as leaders and managers, we have to know that, this is a reinforcer. We got to create the space in the day. We got to create the daylight for those relationships to be nurtured and thrive.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of goes back to what you said at the beginning about like the univariate versus multivariate, like being able to like take the nuance and the context of the situation and like apply it because, you know, I think I probably said it myself. I know I've heard other people say, "Oh, well, send a preference assessment survey out to your staff."
Yeah.
Well, how many swag pins and coffee cards and gas cards? I mean, gas cards could come in handy, but like really like, and there was, and I wish I could remember. It's probably been 7 or 8 years ago that I read an article about it wasn't in the ABA journal. It was like kind of in a human resources platform. I'm trying to remember exactly, but it was like talking about what motivates staff and like basically reinforces staff, and it was talking about having value, like finding value within their position, and that their employer found value within them in their position was higher, more motivating than a raise, especially if it was just like a small raise, right? Nothing mind blowing, right? Life changing raise, and that kept that because we were researching turnover and stuff like that even within our company, and that's when we were kind of shifting and like having not one-on-ones like in a just because we have to, like, oh, we got to check off getting one, but like really bring open door, like really having open door. Hey, I want to hear about your day. And I think sometimes we get into that like dual relationship ethical, like black and white. And it's like, okay, well, you can be human and stay within the ethics.
Right.
Like you can
your preference assessment, you said you like coffee. Here is your coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's really motivating.
Instead of like really evaluating and observing the behavior and just like you're talking about here, like all the nuances.
I like all I was gonna say. Add into this was like, anyone that goes into this field for more than 3 weeks obviously is very passionate about it, right? Like, this is not an easy job. And I will be the first one to admit, I will never do this job, right? I could never do that. I could not work with kids. I can barely handle the one we got, right? Like, like I couldn't do that all day long forever, right? There's just, no. So, like, the people that are doing this job, right, are super passionate, and that's what we saw in those TikToks, right? These like there were people in tears, right, saying, I can't find a good company, and I guess I have to leave the field, and like those are the people we lose, right? Those are the by doing what we're doing, and so it's really unfortunate, and it's just. Yeah, it has to go beyond that preference. Again, what is the intent? Why are you sending that preference assessment, right? Like, what is that? Well, that's what I was supposed to do. Well, no, right? It's because you want to.
Improve your relationship. It's not even. People. So many are like, oh, I'm just a billable hour, or all my admin, all my owners, all my supervisors care billable hours, and so we've talked about this quite a few times now in the last few podcasts that we've recorded, but. We do have money is a factor, right? Especially like looking at our reimbursement rates and, I don't know. I guess if you're a small startup, it's probably even harder to do these non-billable activities. But like, how can we show up in a way where our staff, they don't feel like it's all about billable? I mean, billable hours are important. There's definitely a place there for them. The session notes are important for many reasons, not just to get paid. Like how can we give a more like wholesome.
robust.
Like, yeah, right?
Yeah, right. A fulfilling experience.
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah, and we know it's possible, right? I think
Yes.
every one of us knows a medical professional, whether it's your MD or your dentist or professional of any kind, that you've paid them for their time.
Yeah.
And you sat there and they've, maybe it's your doctor, they've checked you out, nice conversation. You had a plan when you left, but at the same time, you're like, dang, I like that guy, or dang, I like that guy. It's possible. I mean, my family doctor growing up was that way. I was like, I wanted to be like him. I mean, I was like, he was that good, and there's a possibility in that time that we spend, even when we're billing, when we're having these interactions, when we're, a BCBA with an RBT or a center director with a BCBA or, whatever, to enrich every second we're with them, to make it better. I did it's interesting to bring it up. It's probably 6 months ago, I did a blog post about, pairing with staff and really specifically address kind of like what you guys are talking about, the very mechanical preference assessment, here's your coffee kind of thing, and how, like, what does it take to get close with the staff member so that, they feel valued and they feel close to the organization. Because in a lot of ways, a BCBA is paired with an organization, especially in those first 3 months. They're not paired as a BCBA. They represent whatever company they're working with. And that RBT is still getting used to working there and everything like that. And things are kind of unknown. And one of the things I think is important, and whether we like it or not, if we're a BCBA or a center director, we will never be more reinforcing than most of the stuff they already have in their life. Because they've got, hopefully, parents, or maybe a spouse, a dog, kids, things like that. Those are their reinforcers. And to your point, Stephen, they are the very intrinsic reinforcement of just doing a job, having a purpose, seeing improvement in the kids they work with. A BCBA or a center director is, not going to be able to outmatch that reinforcement. We have to be frank about it. But what they can do is pair themselves with those reinforcers, and talking about, if you're a BCBA and you have RBTs, especially if you've had these RBTs for a while, you should know who their spouses are. What's their names? Like, how are their kids doing? And we want to be professional, but at the same time, you got to be human. What do they do? You should know where they went on vacation last, and how it went, and things like that, because you want to take your face and put it next to the things that they most value. And then it's different, right? Then it changes things. It's not this isolated, siloed, that's my BCBA, and this is the brand, and this is the job I do. It's, this is, a conglomerate of a context of reinforcement, and they all bounce off of each other, And so, to your point, I think that's really, really important. It's let's not be narcissistic about this too, because I think there's a lot of, I definitely was this way. I'll admit, when I first started as a BCBA, I'm like, I'm going to be the best BCBA for you. And I don't know. I think I came across as like a youth pastor trying to be too cool, like it was like just not natural, and it was really rigid. So I realized almost immediately, is like, what, they've got things in their life that they really, really, really love, and I want to know more about those things. And I think that helps a lot.